Francisco Luna. I am actually the sales engineer here at MacroFab, and I'm here to help out with the customer experience. My role here is to take any technical questions that may come up and translate that over to getting a quote and a project done for the customers. So the MacroFab platform is a way to be able to quickly quote a design for a PCBA. In this case, an engineer would have a PC board package where it's a bare PC board plus all the components that go on there, bill of materials. And what they'll do is they'll actually take that package and drop it into the platform. The platform will take it and process it and render an image of that design, including the bill of materials, to allow the engineer to actually look at what they have built and to let them know that we can actually build it with their specifications. And this includes actually getting feedback on the bill of material and availability. Engineers, what they can do to actually make sure there's a smooth transition between their project over to the platform is to make sure that they read through the requirements on the platform. In this case, making sure that they can get us an either ODB++ package or Gerbers with the corresponding placement data, XYRS data, in a typical format that is taken, maybe using Altium or Eagle or some other engineering design tool. So if they actually have one of these tools, they can easily translate that into a zip file that can be dropped right into the platform, and the platform will be able to translate that into what's needed to be able to render that as feedback to the engineer to say that, in fact, we have everything we need to be able to get their design built. You have to understand the supply chain environment that we're living in now. So something may go into production, but if one of the components is not already kitted when you actually start, you will actually have your production come to a screeching halt. So you need to make sure that your kit, all your bill of material, is readily available before you actually plan on production. It doesn't do you any good to actually set a date without analyzing your bill of materials for availability and to make sure that it's all available. If it's all available, you need to go ahead and procure it as soon as possible, because even though we may be quoting a project today, that doesn't mean that tomorrow all the components will be available. If there are some critical components that have limited availability, you need to identify those and actually mitigate the risk by either allowing us to go ahead and go out and procure them immediately, or we have some customers that will actually consign components where they will actually go out and get those high-risk components that are not readily available and purchase them beforehand, and then after that, then release the package for quoting, understanding they've already procured the more difficult to find components, and they can actually provide them to us as a consigned basis. So that would be it, just keeping in mind your supply chain for your bill of materials. Engineers will run into many problems that could potentially derail their projects. One of the more common ones that we're seeing nowadays is actually supply chain issues. There is actually a big problem, as everybody knows, with microchips and actually supply of components in general. So the biggest challenge is basically that an engineer will actually make their best effort on the design, and then when they're actually ready to actually build it, they come to find out that there are supply chain issues. So that actually will cause them to have to go back to their design and maybe either redesign the assembly or start looking for alternates. And that's where we can come in. We can actually help out as far as doing iterations of the same design and giving feedback on availability. So we try and minimize the issues with the supply chain and getting the project back on track. In order for you to go ahead and really manage the product life cycle of a product, you have to keep in mind that there are stages in order to go ahead and get into production. At the beginning, you actually have just kind of a design validation stage where you're validating that your design is something that is feasible and manufacturable. In that respect, we can help out by allowing you to make small builds on the platform before committing to very large volume purchases of components or a contract. In this case, the platform, you can actually build 1 or 10 or 50 units for design validation. In this case, the engineer would get their design, put it in the platform, and then start seeing component availability and how the design looks. But one key feature of the platform is once you put in your Gerbers and your design, it'll give you immediate feedback as to what the design looks like. What you see on the platform is what you get. So you can actually tell whether there's going to be any kind of mechanical interference, if there's any potential design rules violations on there, they will actually show up on there. And this allows for faster design validation to be done on the project. Once the design is done, there is typically some kind of a prototype or pilot build stage where you actually will have a little bit bigger build quantity. And the platform will also help because, again, you're not committing to the very high volume purchases of your bill of materials. And this will let you say, hey, I want to go ahead and validate the process that I will be using to be getting this product built. So same thing, you have the platform take over the quantity that you're going to be building, and then you can actually see whether or not it's something that's manufacturable on a larger scale. This is actually an exercise to allow you to feel confident that once you do scale up to mass production, everything will work properly. You can validate tools, you can validate manufacturing processes, and see the results of that doing that limited build. Then finally, into production, we can actually allow you to have visibility of the cost for production by getting you pricing for lower volume and higher volume. If for some reason you expect to have much higher volume production going forward, you can actually see that pricing directly on the platform, or we can actually do custom pricing where you can actually tell the pricing will be affected by maybe moving into a low-cost labor region. So we have the option of either showing you what the pricing would be to build something in the States, or maybe something in a low-cost region like Mexico, where you can actually tell what your cost would be if you end up doing high-volume production and moving your production to Mexico. So it does help out with that visibility.